Hello, my name is Ashley Payne. I'm a distance education student at Vincennes University, and today I'm going to be talking about Gestalt therapy. So what I want to discuss is what Gestalt therapy is, who developed it, what it's applied to, and what a session might look like using this type of therapy. So first we're going to talk about what Gestalt therapy is, or GT for short. So I found information in a book called Counseling Theories and Techniques for Rehabilitation and Mental Health Professions, and it described Gestalt therapy as the belief that we have limited self-awareness and live through a lens of our past, our fantasies, and our perceived flaws and abilities. So what that's kind of saying is we're not necessarily living in the moment 100%. Our past is affecting us at this moment. Our fantasies, so like what we want to happen in the future, and the flaws and the lack of abilities that we have. Like everything is affecting this moment in time. So what Gestalt therapy is trying to do is to get people to live just in this moment. And so what the therapy focuses on is present experiences and getting the client to be aware of how they ended up where they're at. Frederick Perls, or Fritz, developed the therapy along with his wife Laura in the 1940s. In 1951, it was consolidated into two parts, practical and theoretical. 1973 is when the APA finally recognized Gestalt therapy as an independent entity. So according to information I found in Object Relations and Gestalt therapy, it said that Fritz observed forcing change as people resisting change. So we can kind of tie that into our everyday lives. If you're trying to force something onto somebody, they're going to give you pushback. They're going to resist. So that's kind of with Fritz's idea of this therapy, is to help people become aware of where they need help and what they need to do rather than forcing them to just do it. So this resistance can happen consciously and unconsciously. People might not realize that they're giving that pushback to change. But like I said, GT, which is Gestalt therapy, is only concerned with what's in the present. And that's because that is where we're able to live our fullest. So we hear a lot of sayings like live in the moment. And that's what this is about. This is trying to get people 100% to just live in the moment. Live your life the fullest. Don't dwell on the past. Don't worry too far into the future. So with this therapy, the undesirable symptoms and behaviors are actually like needed elements. They're used as learning tools to successfully make that change. So undesirable behaviors, they're not going to look at that like that's negative, we don't want that, get rid of it. No, they're going to look at it like, okay, so this is where we're at. This is the issue. So we're going to use this as a learning time and make some changes with this to create an overall change. There are two important areas of focus, and that is the awareness and relationship. So awareness is exploring, experimenting, and experiencing, and that includes the feelings, perceptions, the sensory and somatic stimulations, and social interactions. And then with relationship, it's the contact and dialogue creating a relationship, and that all experiences are based on relationship. So Fritz, when he was developing this therapy, he actually took components of different philosophies and just kind of tied them all in together to create what he needed. So his techniques can help counter things such as schizoid withdrawal, narcissistic injury and regression. They can encourage spontaneity, deeper consciousness of physical sensations, and sharpen the here and now experience, which draws us back to living in the moment. You know, the here and now experiences, you know, right here in this moment, what is happening? You know, these are the experiences that are going to help us live our life to the fullest. So some syndromes that GT could be applied to. So like if you get clients in there with eating disorders, PTSD, alcoholism, this is where Gestal therapy is really going to come in handy. And later when I give an example of what a therapy session might look like, that we're going to kind of use alcoholism, or you could consider it, you know, drug use, because we're going to talk about relapse. So there are weaknesses to this therapy. We've got people believing that it neglects the interpersonal and intersubjectiveness. It underestimates the importance of unconscious purpose processes, and it considers cognitive processes to be an obstacle. And then it also doesn't provide a satisfying conceptual framework for understanding the dynamics of transference and countertransference. So professionals that use this method use an assessment method along with it called patterning process and it's of listening to the client and observing their verbal and nonverbal gestures so that sorry about that. So that a picture or pattern can be seen about the client and about their environment. So the case study I was talking about dealing with relapse focuses on days sober instead of the acts of relapse itself and of it being a failure. From that focus, they want to think about the continuous days of abstinence. They don't want to go back and think about, you know, well, I was sober this long and now I have to start over. Now I'm lost and now I don't know what to do. No, they're going to focus on, okay, well, how many days are you going to be sober now? The client and therapist will use the experience of relapse as a way to understand the recovery process, and that makes it less likely for a client to be fixated on those, you know, the upsettings, the disappointment and embarrassment that they could face with starting over and having to admit that, you know, supposedly they had failed, even though with this therapy, you know, it's used as a learning tool. So the approach has therapists focusing and clarifying what clients' practical goals and interests are, and informs them of a progress they are making along the way. So, you know, we kind of talked about what Gestal therapy was, who developed it, and, you know, different situations like in which it could be applied in, and then a little example of a case study. But there's a lot more information out there, you know, especially, you know, within the references I give, there was a lot more detail that, you know, I could have went into. But also, like with our university, the Shake Library, there were so many books you could, you know, look through, journals, like Google Scholar, even YouTube uses the TEDx videos. Those are very handy when looking at, you know, academic stuff. So hopefully, if you're the least bit interested in this, you can use some of these references and do your own research to kind of get a better understanding of it. So thank you.